should move forward to make sure you can see the slides. I'll let you decide on that. Today we have Samantha Robinson, who is a case manager, and she's really inspiring and informative because she sees every day. What are things here? Okay. She sees every day the face of the HIV epidemic, and she knows patients really, really very well, and probably has a better sense of patients inside of the clinic and outside of the clinic, better than anyone else that provides care. She's sought after by people across the state. She's worked with a clinic in Beaumont to help them set up their case management system. And she's a joy to know and a pleasure to hear from. So Samantha, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Again, my name's Samantha Robinson. Everybody hear me okay? Okay. My name's Samantha Robinson. I'm an RN. I work here at UTMB. I'm under the Department of Internal Medicine, and we are the Infectious Disease Division. We are on the academic side. I came to you today. I have no conflict of interest, and I'm not making any special benefits out of you. I just wanted to educate you on our program and bring you a little bit down memory lane so you get an understanding of who Ryan White is and where our program comes from. To start with, here, who is Ryan White? Ryan White was a little boy that was born in 1971. He was born in Kokomo, Indiana, and on his third day of life, this young man underwent a circumcision to where he could not stop bleeding. He was diagnosed with hemophilia from that day forward. So his parents, he led a very uneventful life, getting his once weekly treatments of his factor VIII blood products, until he turned age 13. When he turned 13 years old, he developed pneumonia. And it was so severe, the doctors at that time diagnosed him with HIV. He was a hemophiliac. His doctors diagnosed him with HIV and told them that he probably only had 6 months left to live. At that time, he was started on a medication called AZT. So unfortunately, with technology, the way it did extend his life, but it's not a cure-all. So he began on AZT. The problem with Ryan White was he lived in Kokomo, Indiana, and there was not enough known about the disease at that time. It was known that it was strictly related to where a person only got it from blood products or from body fluids, but there was enough ignorance in the world to where he was barred from going to school. The answer for him in Kokomo, Indiana, was the head of the school board decided that he was expelled from school and he had to listen in on a telephone to be able to go to school. His mother filed suit and she won in court, but he was still ostracized from that point forward. Unfortunately, when his mother won in court, she did bring him to school on the first day, and of the 360-something students in school, 3/4 of them did not come to school that day because he was there. So in turn, a judge then put another injunction in. He was not allowed to go to school. From that point forward, they went through all the different courts, whatnot, and she won in each circumstance. Famous people throughout the world then caught their attention because of the case of Ryan White. So he became friends with people such as Michael Jackson, John Mellencamp, Elton John, Elizabeth Taylor. People were in his corner. The president at the time was Ronald Reagan and his wife Nancy, and he became the poster child because from that point forward, it was no longer a disease, a gay disease. It was now an epidemic affecting our country, and it was affecting everyone. It was an everyone disease. At the time that we know of, there were 146 children throughout the United States that were afflicted with HIV at the time of his diagnosis. Ryan White, from that point forward, because of his notoriety, he never sought it out. All he wanted to do was go to school. He became friends with famous people. He became a poster child for HIV at that point. And his mother played a very important part in our history because she then became a speaker throughout the United States. Now, her focus was mainly on children and HIV, but she, in each and every speech that she ever gives, she always gives credit to the gay community, because she said without the gay community giving her information on how to help her child live, he would have never lived another 6 additional years from the time of diagnosis. Now, because she did win in court and finally the Court of Appeals would not hear the case anymore, it was determined that he was allowed to go to school. Not only did they attempt to burn his house down, but there were also bullets being shot through his home. So his mother at that point, she decided that it was better to be safe for her child. She also had a daughter, and moved to a different community than it was to stay where she was, even though they were right. They moved approximately 30 minutes away, and one thing that was very beneficial, what they did before he was allowed to go to school there, they brought all of the children in at the junior high that he was at, and they educated each and every one of them on exactly what HIV was and what it meant and how he needed to be treated with respect, and it made a difference. He had a large amount of friends. There was a very small amount of children from that point forward who ever called in sick, and he led a relatively peaceful life. He, from that point forward, he attended school, and he passed away in April of 1990. He was 1 month shy of graduating from high school. From there, the cause was taken up not only from his mother, but also famous people. There's a big Elton John Foundation, which we're one of the beneficiaries of. Also, that same year, in August of that year, the United States Congress enacted something called the Ryan White Care Act. It's also called the Comprehensive AIDS Resource Emergency Act. Essentially what it created at that time, because it is so expensive to treat a person with HIV, it is an act of Congress, and what it does, it treats people and funds the cost of indigent, low income, and people in need to receive HIV treatment throughout the United States. It has been reapproved and reauthorized at least 4 additional times, last time being by President Obama in 2009. As of now, as far as we're aware, the president in office now, President Trump, is a proponent of the Ryan White and a supporter of the Ryan White Act, so we expect it to continue indefinitely. UTMB is a beneficiary of it. The Ryan White program is broken up, and unfortunately, I'm sorry, it's very small, but it's broken up as a program overview. It comes from the United States government. Now, it's broken up into parts. Part A, Part B, Part C, Part D. There's special projects. There's HIV/AIDS education, which brings us here today. That's AEPC. And there's also Part F, which covers dental programs. Again, Part A is limited, where it is only supported, and the money is given from the U.S. directly from the federal government to major metropolitan areas that have large diagnosed contingent of people. So in the state of Texas, the cities of Houston, Dallas, Austin, and San Antonio receive Part A monies, and it's in the millions of dollars. And it's strictly used to treat people diagnosed with HIV, along with outreach workers to help get people into care who may have been diagnosed but are unaware of their status. Sex workers are a big thing, transgender, sexual assault victims, whatnot. Now, here at UTMB, we're broken up into different areas of the state. Okay, So we receive monies Part B, Part C, and Part D, and UTMB also receives the special projects and also AIDS education. In the past, they've received special projects. That is how our program began, and I'll speak about that in a little bit. Our program that brings us here today and provided by lunch is provided by the Ryan White program. So AETC, that's where this falls under. That's Part F. Now Part B, C, and again D. D, I'll start with, D is reserved. That is where we're only allowed to spend money when if it is a woman or a person that is under 24 years old, 24 and under. Okay, that is, and it's directly only related to HIV care and treatment. Again, Part B and Part C, that's assist money. We're broken up again into areas. And here at UTMB, for adults, we treat Brazoria County, Galveston County, and Matagorda counties. So any persons afflicted with HIV, they have the ability to come here and seek treatment. Whether they're insured or uninsured, does not matter. We will take care of their needs and make sure that they're getting taken care of. Okay, let's see here. We have also Part B and Part C. Part B and Part C, that pays for doctor visits, it pays for labs, it pays for immunizations, it pays for case management. There's also special programs that the state has allocated to where we will pay for medications. An average medication for a person for a 30-day supply is anywhere from $3,000 to $8,000 for a 30-day supply, and that's per pill. So a lot of them are combination pills, but unfortunately there's a lot of patients that have to pay, break them up and take combination of pills, so it runs into several $1,000s. So when you think about it, unfortunately, for most patients, that would be out of our reach to be able to get HIV care. Okay. The UTMB Ryan White program. Luckily for us, we do have the program. Just to give you a little bit of background, it started in 1994 with doing research. We have one of the original members. He actually started off, his name is Jeff East. He's a PA working in our infectious disease specialty clinic under our medical director. His name is Dr. Kaiser. And I was joking with him earlier today because I asked him, you know, what did you do when you began? And he said his title was coordinator, and he said he was the worst coordinator in history. But what they started out doing in 1994 was working on clinical trials. They were taking different combinations of medications and see what would work and what would not work. You have to keep in mind until 2005, when we fortunately for the world, we had the medication, the class of medications that's approved today is called protease inhibitors. That was approved by the FDA in late 2005. Until that time, the medications that were on the market were able to extend people's lives, but it was not a cure-all for anything because, unfortunately, you still had an end date. It only increased your lifespan at approximately 4 to 6 years. But since 2005, when protease inhibitors came into play, fortunately for us, we are able to, anyone who has affliction with HIV is able to lead a life that you will die, we will all die, but fortunately for us, you will live indefinitely, and you're going to die from something else. You will not die from HIV. Okay? And that's with the use of protease inhibitors. Now, here at our Ryan White program, we did play a part in that, again, from the beginning of 1994, where we were doing trials on different medications. In 2008, late 2008, we actually started receiving funding from the Ryan White program. Before that, it was strictly on medical trials. We were treating patients with HIV and AIDS here, but it was all under our indigent program through the state of Texas. Also, we received money, and they were the guinea pigs, where we were receiving money and doing studies on people, testing out different combinations of medications. But in late 2008 is when we started receiving funding from Ryan White through the state, And at that time, it was made up of one coordinator, and they were pretty much the organizer of clinical trials. Okay? In 2009, during that time frame, we had one position that was open. They were trying to find an LVN to man that position to run the Ryan White program, and they got no takers. In 2009, fortunately for us, we have the actual original nurse that began the Ryan White program of where it is today, and that is Cheryl Mogridge. So she began what is now the Ryan White program. We've taken people to where we just take care of them, and they had an end date, and unfortunately they died. She had, in her lifetime, has seen a lot of people, unfortunately, that have passed away from this horrible disease. Now, we take care of people, but we actually get them on the road to wellness. Our goal under the Ryan White program now, instead of taking care of people until they unfortunately passed away, now the goal of our program is to help them to lead healthier lives and overcome all the barriers to care to keep them into care so they can lead healthier lives. Now, the way our program is working today, we have 5 case managers. That is 4 registered nurse case managers, and we have 1 LVN. We also have 4 coordinators, 1 who handles the billing, 1 who does case management support. We have 1 that handles our pediatric and pregnant women. For our pediatric and pregnant women program, we cover 40 counties throughout East Texas. For anyone who is aware, Dr. Yana Patel oversees the pregnant women and pediatric program. And today, I can tell you the last year alone, in our 40-county area, there was approximately 35 children that were born with HIV. So he is the primary physician that cares for those children. In addition to that, due to technology, today, even if a woman is diagnosed with HIV, it is not necessarily an automatic diagnosis that her child will be born with HIV. As a matter of fact, as long as the woman gets care and treatment and takes the medications that she's supposed to, there have not been any children that have been born with HIV. We still track them for approximately a year to a year and a half and make sure that they don't convert. But as long as the mother, again, gets her care and treatment and takes her medications, there are no children. We only follow them because they've been exposed, not because they have contracted HIV. Again, we have 4 coordinators. 1 specializes in medication. Again, under the program, it falls under the state, under Ryan White, but it comes out of a different checkbook. So we have the ability, we help people apply for medications, and that's where that we have 1 person specifically, and that's our main role, is to help people apply for medications. In addition to that, we support our medical director, Dr. Philip Kaiser. He oversees our program. We also have 6 infectious disease faculty physicians for adults. We have 3 infectious disease fellows for adults currently. We have 1 physician assistant that covers adults, and then we have 4 infectious disease faculty that covers pediatrics and obstetrics. One thing we are working on for the pregnant women, because unfortunately once a woman delivers, she has to go back to her own county because under the adult program, what happens is they have to go under their area that is supported, and that's where the monies go to. We're going to be trying something here in the next year to where women will cohort with their child. As long as we're following that exposed baby for the year and a half, we're going to be working with keeping the mother in care with the child until we return her to adult care in her own home area. So that is something new that we're working on that's going to help, hopefully, with our numbers. Currently in our program, under case management, we have 254 clients, and we don't call them patients, we call them clients. And what we do is we help work them, work on whatever it is that they need to overcome the barriers to care for their illness, to seek care and treatment. For anyone who is over 100% over the federal poverty limit, we have the ability, under the Ryan White program, we assist them with obtaining Affordable Care Act insurance. because it has been determined that it's cheaper for us as a Ryan White program to help and pay for affordable insurance for care and treatment for a client than it is to pay for their care strictly through the Ryan White program. So we do, that is one of the things, but again, we are not an expansion state for Medicaid, so you have to be over 100% over the federal poverty limit to be able to qualify for it. If you're under 100%, if you're under over 100%, between 0 and 100, we will automatically refer you for your county indigent program because you should automatically qualify for it if you're a citizen. And if not, then we will just treat you. We do not discriminate on the basis of what your legal status is, what your sexual orientation is, anything. We will take anyone afflicted with HIV and help that person. That is what we're here for. Okay. Populations we serve, again, low income, unfunded clients diagnosed with HIV. They can be up to 300% over the federal poverty level, and they have to live in the counties of Galveston, Brazoria, or Matagorda counties. If they don't live in one of our counties, which we get a lot of people in our catchment area, we get referrals every day from the inpatient side. And what will happen is we go and we pay a personal visit to that client as long as we're aware that they're here. And we will give them the information because Ryan White programs are nationwide. They represent every county in the state of Texas. So it does not matter where you live, you will have access to a Ryan White program. There's no reason why a person cannot get care and treatment for HIV. So if they don't live in our areas, we will refer them to where they do need to go for care and treatment. If they are in our areas, we will do our very best to keep them in care and treatment. We will go as far as getting them enrolled in our program, helping them make appointments, give them referrals to everywhere they need to go, and hopefully continue the medications. And if they are incarcerated individuals, unfortunately, by federal law, we're unable to support those clients. And I'm not able to give them any of our documentation or our pamphlets. So what we do is we try as best we can to go and speak to those clients, especially if they're in the county jail. They will come to our clinic to get a visit and get treated and get started on medications if they're a new diagnosis. What we do is we try to introduce ourselves and let them know about our program, so if they are, when they are released, that they can come back to us and get care. And I would say it's about 50% on the success rate with people getting into care. If they are in a state program, in the state incarceration, TDC, we have a program set up where there's a liaison through TDC. They will notify us when a person is due to be released from incarceration, and we set up their appointment for intake with us from the time approximately 2 weeks to a month before they're ever released from incarceration. So we try to have a smooth transition. If they are in a county jail, when a person is released, 9 times out of 10, they don't receive any medications when they're released. If they're released from TDC, they're usually given 10 days of medication. So we have a very short window of time to keep people within treatment of medications. And I can say we are very successful with getting that accomplished. Even if they can't be seen by the doctor, they've already been under care and treatment by a UTMB physician. Under incarceration with TDC. So we just continue the medications, and we have a program set up through the state where we're able to get medications expedited, so there's no reason for people to run out of medications. Again, for pediatric and expected mothers, it's throughout East Texas. It's all the way from Longview, Texas, down to Port Arthur and over to Matagorda County. Those are the areas that we cover. It's an automatic for children who are diagnosed. I can tell you under Dr. Patel's oversight, most all of those children, it's an automatic that they do get Medicaid. So even if they're not insured, privately insured, we have the ability, all children exposed and diagnosed with HIV have the ability to receive Medicaid while they're undergoing treatment. Okay, we provide to clients with HIV. This is some of the things that we do under our program with case management. We provide medical assistance to where we get them appointments. Not only are we treating HIV, but we're also making sure that they're getting the immunizations that they need. We're tracking them, making sure if anyone's been exposed to TB or syphilis at any time that they get the treatment that they need. We provide nursing assistance, the immunization, case management. A large portion of our patient population have mental illness, and they also have sexually transmitted diseases, and unfortunately a lot of them have drug problems. So those are the people who stay on case management. I can tell you, just like I talked about before, it used to be you stayed on case management until you unfortunately passed away. That's not the case anymore. What we do is we get people into our program. In the beginning, they go through a lot of screenings, and it's determined on what their basic needs are. We overcome all the barriers. We try to take care of all the needs as best we can, and then we discharge them from case management. So they have the Ryan White program help supporting them by paying their medical bills, but case management is only available if you need it after that point. There's some people who, unfortunately, if they have mental health issues or they have drug issues or they just can't get their life together, they need a life coach. That's the people who stay under case management now. We'll have people who go in and out of jail. We have a lot of people that have various needs. It could be maybe they just can't read, or they've got hearing issues or whatever, that they need a case manager to help walk them through whatever their barriers are. Those are the people who stay on case management. So we have the mental health assistant. We do contract out as part of the funds that we received on an annual basis. We have Dr. Michael O'Boyle. He comes every Wednesday to the specialty clinic, and he actually will have a full, he's a psychiatrist, and he will run a full clinic. And the best we can, we actually get appointments for our patients who need mental health assistance. Access to medications. Again, we have that one coordinator, and her full job is dedicated to obtaining medications for our patients. And then we provide a multitude of referrals for other needs. Again, ACA assistance for the over 100 percentile of we do copay cards fortunately for people who are insured. We have the drug companies are fully aware that the medications are out of the reach of most people. So even when you have insurance, it may, if it's a $5,000 bill on a monthly basis for your medication, but your insurance is only picking up $4,000 of it, that's still cost prohibitive for most people. So fortunately for us, most pharmaceutical companies that produce HIV medication, they have copay cards. So that is where we step in and make sure that our clients have copay cards. So for the vast majority of our clients, even if they have insurance, with the use of a copay card, because it's usually loaded with $7,000 on it, it's usually no out-of-pocket expense for most people. We also, and it's not a Ryan White grant, but there are other organizations in the local community. There's one called Access Care of Coastal Texas, and they, under the Housing and Urban Development, they have a program called HOPWA, and that stands for Housing Opportunities for People with AIDS, because unfortunately people are still very discriminated against, and there's a big stigma involved with the affliction of HIV. So HOPWA, under housing, has the ability to help people to get housing and stay in housing, where it works similar to Section 8, to where instead of you go to a certain area, you actually are able to pick your own housing area or whatnot. There's different forms of it. One is under emergency services, to where you need to go someplace quickly. Say your family doesn't understand and they want you to leave the home once you've been diagnosed. HOPWA has the ability to step in and help people with paying for their first month's rent and paying their deposit and paying different things involved. And then the other component of HOPWA is you actually get on the waiting list, and there's certain funding that's available, and HOPWA will actually help you pay for your monthly rent. They also, through ACCT, have a food pantry. This is not part of Ryan White, but it is very, very popular and very much needed in our community. Transportation under Ryan White funds, that is covered. So anytime there's an appointment that is needed, there is no reason why a person cannot make their appointment, because we have the ability to get them transportation. Whether they have Medicaid, they have Ryan White, they have insurance, whatever it is, we can get people get transportation. Also dental, that was one of the things covered under Ryan White, that's Part F. Dental, there's a certain portion every year. They tell us how much money that we're getting for our area, and a certain portion of it is earmarked off because people with HIV, unfortunately, when you have problems with your skin or you have problems with your mouth, there's something going on and you're having some opportunistic infections going on. So therefore, we always will pay to make sure that people are taken care of as far as their dental. There's an organization that they're specially trained dentists. It's called Avenue 360 that we contract with, and we give a certain portion of our funds that we receive for this area. So in turn, our HIV-inflicted clients have the ability to go up to Houston. I think it's twice a month, and there's a shuttle that goes up there, and they have the ability to get any dental care that they need. What does a client with HIV look like? Again, stigma. Stigma is everybody's disease. It's not a gay disease. It's not a transgender disease. You can be gay. You can be straight. You can be married. You can be single. There's men. There's women. There's children. There's sexual assault victims. There's hospital workers, hotel workers. We've seen a little bit of everybody. It is an everybody disease. Diversity. The gamut and the age group of our clients is very diverse. We have somebody from every different age group. We have traditionalists, the people who were born prior to World War II. We have baby boomers. We have Generation Xers, Generation Ys. We have millennials, and now we have Generation Zs. We see a little bit of everything. We have stories, and some of the stories are heartbreaking. Some of the stories are, you can't believe that somebody could be so stupid, or you can't believe that they put themselves in that position. But again, to the outside world, these are our children, these are our mothers, these are our fathers, these are our babies. So we are going to take care of them and support them any way we can to make sure that the stigma, the racism, the everything is reduced as much as possible, so these people can live productive lives and stay in care. Again, mental illness and substance abuse are very predominant, but that is not to say that is every one of our patients. That's a very small portion of our patients, but unfortunately, they come hand in hand with each other. Unfortunately, HIV, hepatitis C, mental illness, and substance abuse is very predominant. Those are the people who stay on case management. Everyone has a different story. We're not here to judge them. We're here to be their advocate and to help them in any way possible. I would like to introduce somebody now. I have someone from our support group, and she is a survivor. She is very brave. I've already heard her story, and it's a very powerful one. Unfortunately, Andrea can't be here today. She's ill, and it's also the anniversary of her spouse's death, who passed away from HIV, so she's having a hard day, which I expected it, but she was going to do her very best to get here. But I wanted to let you know, Andrea was married for, I believe, 32 years, and she became sick and didn't know why she was sick, and fortunately, she was diagnosed in a timely manner. She does have HIV, but fortunate for her, her husband contracted it he stepped outside of the marriage at some point, and the day he left is the day that she was diagnosed, and she's a survivor. Her family has stepped up, and they are very supportive of her. She has done very well with it because she has embraced her treatment, and she is doing very well in her life now. We have another young lady. Her name is Miss Tiffany, and I'd like you to hear her story because, she is one of our everybody. She's a survivor, and she's part of our women's support group. Through ACCT, here at UTMB, we take care of the medical side. Through ACCT, they also receive grant money from Ryan White, and what they do is do the non-medical portion. So they handle the housing. They handle the support groups. They do free lunch every Thursday. They take care of transportation for us for medical appointments, and then they also handle food pantry and supportive things. Tiffany is part of our women's support group, and she's got her story to tell. After that, we'll take whatever questions you have. Okay.
Hello, everybody. My name is Tiffany. I'm 40 years old. I have 6 children. All my life, I was very, how you gonna say? I'm saying it in a nice way. Boy crazy, man crazy. I was told all my life, well, you're so cute, you're so pretty, you're so this. And, as a young woman, a poor young woman, when I seen that, I can get men to do things for me just because I was cute or, and it's a bad habit that a lot of women, that we have, and I just want to tell all you ladies and gentlemen that everything that looks good is not good. I don't care if you're married. I don't care if you're single. Like she said, there's nobody exempt from this. The only way to keep you safe is to actually be safe. And it's sad to say that nowadays we can't trust our husbands. We can't trust our wives. We can't trust our boyfriends. It's sad to say that, but it's the reality of the world. And I was diagnosed in 2007 when I was pregnant. And I had no idea that I was HIV positive. And I wound up getting into some trouble and I wound up going to prison. And when you go to prison, they check you for everything. They check you from the rooter to the tutor. And I can remember being on that unit and the sergeant came and she said, you need to pack your bags. And I knew I hadn't done anything wrong. And I said, why? She said, it don't matter why. She said, you got to get out of here. So they took me to Atwater and they kept me in medical for hours and hours and hours. And no one never told me anything. And, in your mind, you never expect to hear those words. When you go to the doctor, you don't expect to hear that. And I can remember the lady coming in and she said, well, you need to sit down for this one. And that's when she told me that I was HIV positive, and I was pregnant with my last child. And the only thing that could go through my mind was not worried about myself, but I was saying to myself, how am I going to live with myself if this baby is born with this terrible disease? Because it is a terrible disease, and what makes it more terrible is the fact that when you have guilt and shame, and your guilt and shame, what keeps you from getting the help that you need, because you're so afraid of people finding out. Because where I come from, people are they're ignorant. They have lack of knowledge. We're so used to putting labels and stereotyping each other. And, I can remember coming home and being afraid when, like Samantha was saying about all these programs that they have. And it's all free programs. And I can remember being one of those ignorant people and denying myself treatment and denying myself the help that I needed. Now, did I take my baby to the doctor? Yes, I took very good care of my baby. And she's 10 years old and she's not HIV positive. And I thank God for that. I thank Dr. Patel for that. But the guilt and the shame of, somebody's going to see me at this clinic. Somebody's going to see me coming out of ACCT. So to make a long story short, that guilt and shame ate me up to where I had to be hospitalized this year. And I was hospitalized maybe 3 or 4 times this year. Almost died this year. I had got so bad to where I was drowning my pain and sorrows in drug addiction because I didn't have anybody that I really felt like I could talk to, And yeah, you have your support from your doctors and people here, but you need more than that. You know, when you go home, you want to feel comfortable. You want to feel safe. You want to feel like if I go in to talk to my family about anything, you know, you can tell them about your situation. But with this disease, it doesn't work like that. And that's why so many people are dying from this disease, because they are rejected. They are frowned upon. You know, people think that people with AIDS or HIV are nasty or disgusting people. I'm not nasty. I'm not disgusting. I'm not a filthy person. You know, and it's sad to say, but African American women from the age of like 15 to 50, we're the highest carriers of this disease. And I don't think it's from lack of knowledge. I think it's from lack of self-worth, not appreciating ourselves more, because a lot of people from where I come from, we feel like we're entitled to a man doing something for us. And sometimes it makes us lazy to where we feel like the only thing that we can do is lay on our backs to get what we need. And sometimes you might be getting what you need, but you might wind up with something that you don't want. You know, and you know, is it easy living with this disease? No, it's not. You know, and my friends exposed me. My friends went through my stuff and they put all my business on Facebook. And that was like one of the most hurtfulest moments of my life, to know that I can't trust people. So it sucked me into a real bad, you know, deep depression, because that was my biggest fear, of being rejected, because I was so used to being liked and loved by everybody. And I had this disease for a long time. And I had it so long to where it caused me to have acquired AIDS. I have full-blown AIDS now. I remember the last time when I first came to the hospital before I went into treatment, my T-cell count was at a 14. I was almost dead, you know, but that was from living in my guilt and my shame. And I think if we get people, not the people with the HIV, but if we get more people who are blessed and lucky that you haven't acquired this disease, because this disease is for anybody, you know, to be more open-minded, to be more considerate, and maybe put yourself in that person's shoes, you know, because you don't have to be a prostitute, like she said. You don't have to be a gay man, you know. I can remember being in the streets and being on drugs and being out there, and there's so many men that cheat on their wives. Not just trashy men, businessmen, lawyers, doctors, bus drivers, teachers. It doesn't matter, you know. And the average person is out here not thinking that if you are going to cheat, which is not right to cheat, but the average man doesn't even have a condom in his wallet. And they're just out here sleeping with everybody. So, you know, to bring awareness to people, to especially, you know, I'm going to say predominantly women, because I'm a woman, to be aware, you know, of what's going on. Don't never feel like that you're so special that this can't happen to you. Because where I come from, people don't think that this can happen to them. You know, I never dreamed in a million years that I would be standing here talking to somebody about AIDS and HIV, even acquiring disease, because this is something that I told myself that I was going to take to my grave with me. The only person that knew was my mom and my grandma. You know, and my sister even went as far as my grown kids that are in college telling my children. And I hadn't even told them yet. You know, and just, you know, it's like when you're already hurting, it's like people are so lost in their own thoughts to where they don't think or feel about, man, that could be me one day. You know, and it happens in the blink of an eye, you know. Did I know the guy was HIV positive that I was messing with? No. Can't look at somebody and tell that they're, you know, at first you can't. You know, when I walked in the room, you guys, they couldn't look at me and tell that, you know, I have full-blown AIDS, you know. But the only reason why I don't look like that is because of the programs that UTMB offers, the medication that they provide for me. I take 3 pills. I I see my doctor with no problems. I've never been refused medication. I've never been refused to see by the doctor. Cheryl fusses at me sometimes because I always get my appointments mixed up or late. I do see Dr. O'Boyle, the psychiatrist, and he just thinks I'm nuts, but I'm not nuts. Everybody with this disease doesn't want to kill themselves or harm themselves. I can remember when I first contracted this disease, yeah, those thoughts came across my mind, but I'm not that brave, so, but it's not nothing to sit up and be sad or depressed about anymore, because like Samantha said, the treatments have gotten better. I've met people since I've been going to ACCT. I've met people that have been HIV positive for 30, 40 years, and that's amazing. And they were contracting AIDS and HIV back in the 90s and 80s when medication was totally unadvanced, when it was nothing like it is now. And, it's just amazing to see these people strive on, and they want to live, and they're happy in their life. But I think one of the biggest epidemics that we have with patients and doctors and trying to get everybody on board is what medical people have to realize, is that you have to get that person over their shame and guilt. And once you get past that shame and that guilt and that fear, because it's scary. My friend, she found out, and it's like every time we're together, that's all she talks about. We talk about nothing else. And I'm like, dude, I know this stuff already. Can we talk about something else? I'm not looking for nobody to feel sorry for me or, and I speak about it now because 2-3 years ago, you couldn't pay me to tell no. You couldn't give me $1 million to tell nobody I was HIV positive. I was like, I'm not telling nobody this. And has a lot of people walked out my life? Yes. But I look at it like those aren't the people that I want. Because I remember being sick this year and being in the hospital so many times. And nobody thought I was going to make it. I was every bit of 98 pounds. I just kept getting sick, kept getting sick. Also have back, which 1 out of 10 people acquire that with HIV or AIDS. And that's just as bad as AIDS. But I've been taking my medicine. I go to my doctors. I go to my support groups. I'm getting healthier. I had all kind of lymph nodes and everything growing on my chest. And my doctor, which is Dr. Blank, called me a couple of weeks ago and told me that all that stuff was going away. So I just got really excited because, if it wasn't for these programs that are set in place, I would be dead right now. So it's a very good program. I'm very grateful for the program. I just want everybody to, stay up with your testing. I don't care if it's your husband. I don't care who it is. Go get tested every 3 months because you don't know what someone else is doing when you're not around. And it's hard to think like that when you're in love, but love ain't going to save your life. Being smart and being wise. And sometimes it's wrong to have thoughts like that about people, but we live in a world to where you have to think like that now. So I just advise everybody here, my main goal is to not see people end up where I ended up, because it's been a long and it's been a hard road. And some days I want to give up, because I feel like I'm never going to have a normal life. Ain't no man going to want me. It's a hard life to live. And the way to keep from living that life is to always put yourself first. Always take care of your health. Always, because like I said, if it wasn't for these people sitting in this room, I wouldn't be here. Because I can't afford that medication. I can't afford to go to the doctor as many times as I've been to the doctor. I can't afford to pay those hospital bills as many times as I've been hospitalized. But it's just basically my story, just to take care of yourself.
You have any questions for us?
Yes. If you have any questions for me, you can ask.
I just want to make a comment, and I feel a similar situation. I have metastatic cancer, and the stigma that exists with HIV and the fact that you develop this cancer that is just not getting better, you're just getting worse. And it's a tough road, and I applaud that you're just, you're hanging in there and you're doing a really good job.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody have any other questions?
Just thank you for sharing that with us.
Oh, thank you. It's no problem. I just got to the point to where I'm able to talk about it. And when I do talk about it, I feel, I feel so free. At first I was mad at my friends, but they freed me up from that shit, that guilt and that shame. So now I don't have to walk around living a lie, And if I'm sick, okay, I'm sick. The hell, who knows? I'm going to the doctor because I'm sick. I don't want to be sick. But at first I didn't think like that. Because I was like, ooh, somebody gonna see me at UTMB, and ooh, I'm not going up there, and I can't live my life based on worrying about what other people are going to think, because if I live my life based on that, then my life will not be very long.
You just have to do what's good for you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And your
How long
children.
did it take you to get there?
It took me a long time, like 10 years. It took me a very, very long time. That's why I'm sitting here with full-blown AIDS now, because it took me a very long time to get to that point. But that's just going back to the guilt and the shame. Had not been living in that guilt and that shame, I don't think I would have AIDS right now. And
Well, first it was denial. It's just probably we're saying, this is not happening to me.
yeah. And I don't think it was so much denial. It was just like embarrassment.
Yeah.
I was embarrassed.
Yeah.
I felt like nobody would accept me for the person that they know me to be.
Yeah.
And some people did that, and some people didn't. But like I said, who needs them? Because when I'm really down and out, I need somebody that's going to be there for me. And a lot of times we think being there for somebody is financially, and that's not the case. I can remember being in the hospital, nobody come to see me, nobody to talk to, I can remember that. So, when you go through that, you never forget that. So that's taught me to love myself just a little bit more. Because at the end of the day, I got to be there for me. I can't worry about my family. I can't worry about my friends. Because at the end of the day, I got to take care of myself.
Can I ask you a question that, if you thought that if there was teams of healthcare students, they call them interprofessional healthcare teams, that would make weekly visits and telephone calls just to say, hey, how are you doing? Or come by your house and say, let me just check you, make sure you're doing okay. Do you think that could be something that would have been helpful or would be helpful for some individuals?
You know what I do? Because like I said, some people really don't have nobody. And
That's what I mean,
a lot of
isolation.
A lot of times people that acquire this disease, people make you feel like you're nothing or nobody because, we don't want you over here. We don't want you drinking out our cups. We don't want you sitting on our furniture. We don't, and that's where the ignorance come in, because that's lack of knowledge of people educating themselves on how you can contract this disease.
And then it just makes you feel so isolated.
Yeah, it does. And a lot of people do isolate. And they're not hurting nobody. I have a friend like that. You probably know her, Yolanda. I have a friend, and she isolates, and it's like she's so lost, And I tell her, I said, everybody knows. So why are you still hiding the fact that this is what you're dealing with? Everybody already knows. And whether they know the truth or whether they assume it's the truth, people are already saying this about you. But you still have to get up every day and take care of yourself. Sometimes when my friends be like, oh, you want to go here? And when they tell me where we're going, and I be thinking about the people that are going to be there, and I'm like, I don't want to go around those people because they're going to judge me. They're going to talk about me. They're going to make me feel uncomfortable. Not realizing that, I have AIDS, but I still have feelings. And I can say that through my 11 years of having this disease, I've never given it to nobody. Because I know how it feels, And I couldn't see myself doing that because you do have people out here that will hurt you. You know, that's really a big deception. Deceitful, because the average person that's spreading this disease, they know that they have it. They know that they have this disease. But if you ask somebody, or ain't nobody gonna say, yeah, I got AIDS, I got HIV. Yeah. You know, that's like a hard, touchy subject to talk about. But I feel like in society, if we make it a little bit more easier to talk about, then I think more people would be open, and I think more people would be honest. But you know, you can't change the way another person thinks or feels. And that's another thing I found out. No matter what you do, you can't change the way that you feel. You can't change the way that I feel. And is it scary? Yeah. But it's not as easy to, if I touch her, that don't mean she got AIDS, you know, but some people don't look at it that way. So I think we need to stop being judgmental as people, and I think this disease would get a little bit easier for the healthcare providers to deal with if we can just get people to the point to where they are in acceptance with their situation. They already have to be in acceptance that some people are going to walk out your life. Some people are going to come into your life. But the main goal is here to make the best of whatever time you have left, because I don't think that AIDS is going to kill me. You know, I think I'm going to die from something else. You know, I don't sit up every day and say, oh, let me go and take my medicine because one day I'm going to die. You know, I don't think like that. It was a time where I didn't take my medicine because I thought like that. Oh, I'm going to die anyway, so who needs these pills, you know? But, you know, when I almost died, I realized that I didn't really want to die. And today, from dealing with these two right here, you know, they taught me to where I don't have to die. And I was on case management, and I just got off, almost a month ago, because she was like, you're doing so good, you don't need us anymore. And I didn't understand when first I was like, well, you put me out. I was like, well, I didn't understand what she was saying, but then I felt, okay, I was like, well, if it was something else, she would have told me. But she was like, our services are done. And I was like, no, I thought she was talking about my medicine and stuff. I was like, what did I do? But she was talking about and that makes me feel good to know that I am doing good, you know, and maybe I can help somebody else. We went to a thing that we had a couple of weeks ago, and it was for a sorority. They were Deltas, right? Deltas. And they were trying to figure out ways to prevent women from having babies because these kids are being born with HIV, you know, and that's really a sad situation. So I think that, like, that's becoming an epidemic as well, you know, and we really need to work on that because, you know, being a parent, nobody wants to see their child sick. I wouldn't want to see nobody else's child sick. And this disease is very hard on an adult. So I can just imagine what that child is going through on a daily basis, not being able to be a normal child, not being able to be a regular child. You know, do they really understand what is going on in their life? You know, because being an adult at first, I didn't understand. You know, I was like, so I think I pushed it to the back of my mind so much to where I didn't want to understand it. But if you don't understand it, the sooner you understand it, the better off you are. Because, you know, some people times it ticks and, you know, it's too late to get any help. Another thing, when you're also positive, you have to be consistent with taking your medicine because resistance can build up in your system to where if you take medicine for so long and you stop taking it and you go back to taking it, your body will not accept the medicine. So, you know, if you know anybody that's positive or you have any friends or if you guys have any patients, I don't know what y'all do here, but just to be encouraging and, you know, hey, did you take your medicine today? Or, you know, because a lot of people, we get to the point to where when we hear our T-cell counts are good, our viral loads are good, then we stop taking it because we feel like, oh, I don't need this anymore. You know, and then when you go back and try to take it, it doesn't work for you. So you're just back in that same situation that you was before. But if anybody else, because I can go on and on and on. So if anybody else doesn't have any questions, thank you guys for listening and being supportive. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, okay.